Hi, everybody. I think we're live on YouTube. Give us a comment if you're watching and listening here on the channel. I tried to schedule a live, and I maybe don't know what I'm doing, but I do see us live here on YouTube and on our page. And if you are hearing us, Ted Ryman, all good. Thank you, Ted. And a couple others now are on. If you can just give us a comment, and I'll start the show. I think some of you are over on the scheduled. I don't know how the scheduling works. I thought I did, but obviously not. I see Andrew Pindar. Think I'm in, Tom. Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to start the countdown. Julia's over telling people where we are over on Facebook. I'm going to start the show. Here we go. Okay, well, so far so good for our first show, live show anyway, on YouTube. We put some of the videos, past 300 plus videos, up on our YouTube channel. Welcome to the show. A bit of an historic show, number 347 for this Friday, the 6th of November, 2020. Let's stop and just be sure. There was the boom. Trevor Gissing is saying, you're seeing the normal video, you're hearing the normal music. When we tested this morning with Stingray, and thanks Stingray again for helping us with that. The time difference between when I do this here in the studio and when you hear it is something only like 6 or 7 seconds. So we have much less latency than on Facebook. And the other that is between us live and when you are seeing it down the pipe. The other thing is we will now be able to post this live, this YouTube live stream on the website. So I'll go back to updating the website and using the sailingillustrated.com website. And you can just go there now and watch the shows, and all the previous shows will be there. You don't have to futz with YouTube. You don't have to futz with Facebook, which is becoming increasingly problematic. One of you asked, well, what's going on? Why did you switch? Well, World Sailing complained about us doing that watch party and saying they have copyrighted material. A, it's not copyrighted. B, they should be happy we were doing it. But about an hour and a half in, as those of you who were watching the other night, Sunday night, we got cut off. And then we've been arguing with Facebook ever since. Finally, I just said to Julia, Julia, why are we messing with them? And we talked about it, right? And said, let's just go to YouTube once and for all. So here we are, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Tom Ehman. We're here in Studio B. Julia, of course, is here. as my co-host and supervising producer.
Wow.
Smiling face. You're in the pink of life today, aren't you?
Everybody needs to have a little pink of life today.
Yeah, well, with the election madness here in the States, it's not much fun for us, is it?
No, and so we're standing by.
Well, and that's, you're standing, I will stand, turn around a little further and maybe you can shoot that on your camera. I will stand by to assist you. Those are those nice shirts, Charlie over Golf over one, courtesy of the San Francisco Yacht Club across the bay. And those shirts available if you want to buy one. I think you can write San Francisco Yacht Club and they will get you one for, they're not very expensive. They've given one to Julie and myself and one or two others. If you think I'm gasbagging here, I am, but I really wanted to let people catch up and get a lot of people on here, Julia.
Oh, I'm glad.
Okay. And you're still over on the Facebook page telling people, and maybe Clark Chapin's doing the same, where we are, whence we've gone. The other problem with Facebook, as our music, you probably have never heard our entire theme. Sangmeister doesn't like our theme. I like it.
It's upbeat.
It is upbeat. You know, if you were Johnny Carson or something with a band, you dot, 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 and you'd cut it off or a golf swing or whatever, one of these late night hosts. But the other thing is Facebook is so consumed with the presidential election and post-election and censoring people and putting, as is Twitter, putting on little tags and notes with people's stuff. It's croutonnic. So, yes, we have moved to YouTube Tuesdays and Fridays, as always, at 1300, 1 p.m. Pacific. I put 1 p.m. in there because some people still don't understand 24-hour time. Most of you around the world do. And having lived around the world, we do too. And it's on, there are two Sailing Illustrated channels, and I got to clean that up. There's a Sailing Illustrated YouTube channel, which was kind of an original channel. And I got to get Meg on this, our social media queen, to help sort this out for us. But our main channel is, and if you're here, you found us, Sailing Illustrated TV. As I said, we will, now that this is all apparently working, we will also stream this, and I can do using YouTube. I can stream it to the website, sailingillustrated.com. I'll fire the website back up and start posting more things there rather than on YouTube. And you can watch all the shows right there on sailingillustrated.com without having to muck with, well, Facebook, of course, but with YouTube as well. And all the shows will be there. And you can just strum through. If you miss one, you can go to one place and find them all. Let's stop there, Julie, and see who is on. I've got a couple different screens here with all the people. Is there anybody over on the Facebook page still we need to reach out to? Are you reaching out to them?
Well, there's 679 people could have read this.
Our post about going over here?
Yeah. Okay. No, but and 31 people have shared it.
Okay, good. Well, thanks all for sharing. I know a lot of you did this morning when I made the announcement. So I see Joan
Winston?
John Emmett Sailing. Okay, John Emmett Sailing. So Emmett's on, Ryman, Pindar, Guessing, James Bland. And thank you for, and by the way, Julie is going to tell you again in a moment, but to remind you to like the page and subscribe, push the bell if you haven't already, the Facebook bell. Dogzilla Monster, that's Stingray up in Seattle. Marcus Schventner is on. Good evening. Curious to find out about what happened, Tom. Well, that was in a nutshell, Andrews, or Marcus, as I mentioned. Pindar, good job that we are a young tech with it crowd. Huh?
Yeah.
And that's right. And Andrew is about as with it as anybody or more so. Holy croutons, Batman. Yep, we're on Facebook. Boom.
I love
Yay,
that.
boom. Perfect. Hello. Twump is befuddled today. Yeah, well, there's that. That is a whole nother issue. We're not even going to get into. The video is higher quality. Really, John? It's 720p, 4,000 kilobits a second. So it really should be the same. And maybe some Facebook pages didn't display it as well. But I'm glad to hear that the video is higher quality. I hope you are all, and tell us if it's not. Tell us if the AV sync is perfect. Because, and I'll go listen to it on one of my, well, you tell me, you all tell me, because I have to delay, as you do any live streamer, you have to delay the audio, which has lower bandwidth and goes through the pipes quicker than video. So you actually delay the audio by, in our case, 140 milliseconds, which gets us right up. And the other thing is, I said the latency. So the time between I click my fingers here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, and I'm watching on another computer, is about 8 seconds between live here on the streaming equipment and what you all are seeing down the pipes wherever in the world you are. Henry Reese, yeah, your theme is great. Thank you, Henry. I'm glad you like it. As I said, Sangmeister doesn't like it. Good reception here in France. Thank you, Henry. That's what Suspected and wrote on Sunday. It was all about the crew. Yeah, well, World Sailing knocked us off during that show. Those of you who were up, we went live at 1:30. We've done many watch parties with World Sailing. They've never complained. I've always told them I was going to do it. And I don't know if that was Mr. Anderson's, take a shot. If that was his last gasp, because as you all know, he got voted out, or what. And I've back and forth with their staff. I'm going to be wholly supportive of World Sailing with this new administration. Julie and I have talked about that, and I hope you all are as well. You want to say something?
No, I just going to agree with you. Yeah.
And they've got a new president, a brand new board, with the exception of one holdover, Jan Roucheroux from France. We'll tell you about that in a moment. But a lot of you made it over here, obviously. Thank you. Who else? Thanks for the link. FB is what? Something. FB is Crutonic or Commutech. Yeah, Facebook is just getting so difficult. They were, for a while, they didn't bother people who didn't have a Facebook account, but who then came on to try to watch the show. And now they keep putting those screens up. Join Facebook, sign in, log in. We don't need that. We don't need that. Can we chat with each other behind your back? Yes, Jonathan Frank, you can. We won't watch every comment here. Julia does. I'm a little concerned about trolls, so I ask all of you to help us if you see, because this commenting now is open. It's not restricted to friends or to friends of people who signed up to Sailing Illustrated's Facebook page or so on. It's open. Now, I have a filter on that will stop certain, the F-bomb and certain other words. Supposedly those comments will... Somebody try typing FU or something, and I think your comment will get deleted. I didn't have time to try that pre-show, but I think you'll see that, Julia. You could try that. Oh, you wouldn't. You couldn't come. You couldn't bring yourself
No,
to
I
typing
couldn't.
the F-bomb. So, greetings from the third coast. So Jonathan Frank is down on the Gulf Coast. I hope that hurricane coming. That's a bad hurricane. Eta, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that. And, of course, the lockdowns in Europe, we've been following that. I talked to Andrew Pindar at Link yesterday, and John Emmett and others in the UK. We're really sorry to hear what you're going through and what those of you in France are going through. We have an interview with Andrew Capey in a minute, a long interview, 30 minutes. We had a terrific interview with him yesterday that I recorded for use in today's show with a big announcement, and we'll move on to that now, called the Great Cape Race. This is Back to the Future. This is going to be the Whitbread all over again. Bring your own boat to a round-the-world race, crewed round-the-world race, starting next October, going past the Cape of Good Hope, past and stopping in Cape Town, and then going to Australia, to Tasmania, to Hobart.
Yeah.
And then from there...
And leaving enough time for them to do the Hobart race.
Sydney Hobart.
Yeah.
In fact, they can do the Fastnet before even starting this race. Is just a bit of a tune-up because they're going to start presumably. Well, we'll show you all that in the interview. But we've got the Great Cape Race. It's really the worldwide announcement. I saw some media this morning on that. We of course have a cup date, as always, an AC36 cup date for you, and more. We've got a special news segment that I recorded with Stephen Suchia yesterday. We're going to call it, I don't know, Tom's Tech Tips. It's a little techie thing, but in this day in Zoom and live video, and we've got studio lights in here. We got 3-point lighting, and we got fancy audio and yada yada. 4 cameras. We have our 4th camera up and running too today. Mm-hmm. But I recorded a segment yesterday with Stephen Suchia, Tom's Tech Tips with Stephen T, because he's upgraded his own home zooming thing. He's been on the show a couple times, and his lighting was not good, and he took it upon himself to do that. We'll show that segment later in the show. Julia, your witness.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell.
And the bell is what will give you notifications on YouTube when we go live. And it will subscribing also will give you notifications. You have to go click on a couple other things up in the corner, but it's the same deal as Facebook. And we hope you will like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. And go ahead.
And the potential waiting audience is much larger with YouTube, so it should be a boost.
Do you know why that is? Why the audience is so much bigger on YouTube? Potential audience.
Yeah, because there are a lot more people.
Well, that's part of it. But the other thing is, I mean, to start out, Facebook was better because, first of all, YouTube didn't allow live video as quickly as Facebook did.
Right.
And then YouTube came along. They were allowing, and still do, recorded videos, and the great bulk of the videos on YouTube are recorded videos, and edited, and a whole long process. And then a lot of YouTubers are making real money by doing these recorded YouTube videos. But the reason that, and of course, Facebook being the social community that it is, there's a lot of sharing and back and forth. So it helped us, I think, get up and running to where we are now today with, regularly 5,000 to 10,000 views of each of our shows on Facebook. But hopefully YouTube will as well. Maybe not as many views short term, but YouTube, did you know that the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube?
I believe that.
And of course, Google owns it. So it's second only to Google itself. And that's why if people come on now, and we'll tag this and so on, if people come on looking for America's Cup or Andrew McIrvin or Andrew Pindar or New York Yacht Club or any of the other, Marcus Fenton or any of the other many topics, John Emmett, that we talk about, Stephen Suchia, America's Cup Hall of Fame, we'll tag all that stuff. And these videos are there, and the search engine brings you to that video and others like it, obviously, not just ours. But then once they see this algorithm, and that's why liking, sharing, subscribing is so important, especially here on YouTube. Once you do that, it starts taking you to other similar videos, America's Cup or other Sailing Illustrated, TFE Lives, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And you get big picture, long term, a lot more views. Comments, Julia? Remain open and replay, right?
Right.
And we tested that this morning. We're not 100% sure that's working, but we think it is, don't we?
I don't know.
You had trouble commenting on your TV screen, but when Stingray and I had no problems, and I'm going to type a comment now.
Well, I can do it as say TFE Live, yes.
And I just typed a comment here as Sailing Illustrated. Hell, you all. Some of my oldest videos. This is Emmett confirming what I just said or chiming in. Some of my oldest videos on YouTube now have over 100,000 views, and the numbers still gradually creep up.
Oh, isn't that good?
John Emmett is saying, and that's with his excellent coaching videos and so
yes.
on. Henry Reese video is good, but I find the soon in not so good as before. The soon. Sign in? The soon in. Retype that, Henry. There's a typo there, I guess. All of you guys swearing froze chat, polite and civil now. The video quality is pretty good, Gordon Smith. Thanks, Gordon. The video quality, is it just me or is this even better? I think it probably, those of you who, Facebook was Crutonic and in part, and you had to go click
sound. It's the sound.
Oh, his sound? Is the sound not good?
That's good. Yeah, he says. I don't think the video is quite as good either. But
find the sound is not so good as before.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Is the AV sync good? When I say hello 1, 2, 3, is the AV sync good? The sound's not as good. It's probably because I haven't had enough coffee or something today.
It's not on this screen, but this might be the wrong screen.
That screen doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
That's Julia's monitor. Point to that monitor again when I'm on that show.
Yeah.
That's Julia, so she can watch the show live, and then on her phone and her watch and her computer over there, she's watching the show as you all see it, and as do I. The AV is good. Thank you, Jacqueline Clark. Jacqueline, did you ever tell us if she was did you see that? Is she a relative of the Governor General of New Zealand?
I don't know, but she lives in England.
She does. Well, one never knows. Audio sync is good. The sound quality, too, from here anyway. Okay, thank you, Stingray. And thanks again, Stingray, for helping up in Seattle, for helping us with the test this morning, which I actually I didn't. You know what? I almost had what was that guy on CNN Tubin?
Yeah.
I almost had a CNN moment this morning because I had Julie upstairs watching, and I was here in the studio, and Stingray was up in Seattle. Had just happened to sign on. He saw that we did it, so we carried on. And when I first did the test, I thought I was in private mode, but I wasn't. I was in a bathrobe. So Stingray's, Stingray, hi, how are you? So excuse my bathrobe and shaved. I looked like a complete crouton. And I just had a shirt on and boxer briefs. I stood up and walked out. I realized I had not quite flashed the audience, but it was croutonic. Okay, seems like we're okay. AV sync is superior. Other thing on the video comment, the video probably is better because YouTube does not compress the video, even at 720p, 4,000 kilobits, which is the rate we're streaming, 30 frames a second. Does not compress it as much as Facebook does, or so I'm reliably informed. And I can confirm here that sorry to drag you all through this, but this is a bit of an historic
It's
moment.
helpful for us.
Very helpful for us. We are streaming at a solid 30 frames a second. Average time to render is down great. Frames missed due to rendering lag 7. Skipped frames due to encoding lag 0. And the CPU usage is give or take 50%. So we are in good shape so far, knock on wood. We don't have any more drop. You remember we were having some dropouts too on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to stop babbling on and get on with the show. Look at a few more comments here, Julia. Are there any other comments we should? Are you over with us, or are you still on Facebook?
I've just come back to you because there are no new comments on Facebook that I saw.
Okay, you can cast to Apple TV now from YouTube. Yes, good point. Thank you, Murray Lamont. If you have an Apple TV, there is a YouTube app. I mean, there's also a Facebook app, which is frankly not very good. But there is a YouTube app, and you can go on, click on the YouTube, search through, and you can watch it on your big screen TV. And with this, the success of this will probably at some point increase to 1080p, which is full broadcast HD. 720 is HD too, but it's a little less. I don't think we'll go to 60 frames because those of you watching, most of you probably are watching on a phone. Tell us if you're watching on a phone or a computer or large screen TV. That would be helpful to know. But those of you watching on a phone, you're only watching it, 480 or 560p, and we don't want to slow down your internet connection down the road. No. Yes, there is, but you cannot comment. Now, how about? I know some of you liked the comments, the closed captions on YouTube. On Facebook. And I have turned that on before we went live today, but I don't know. I don't know if you all are seeing captions or can turn something on. I don't think you can. I don't see it here on mine either, so I'll have to do some work on that. Gordon Smith saying, my wife is going to love watching this on the TV. Much more fun than her movie. Jonathan Frank's on a computer, but the video should be fantastic on large screen TV. Yeah, they should be, because even though we're streaming at 720, they are 1080p videos that I put into the show. Andrew Pindar, BT keep fobbing me off with MSO, mass system outage, which they say they will hopefully fix by 11 November. It failed on the 20th of October. I'm watching on my computer, P&P, picture-in-picture as I work. Quality is very good. Okay, well, it sounds like we're in good shape. As I say, you should be able to.
Sailing Suite says still need to run the iOS client for comments.
Okay, I don't know about that. We'll figure out closed captions because I know some of you do, and maybe it may be the closed captions work in replay, and they don't work live. Because remember, for a while, Facebook that you could turn them on and replay, but you couldn't watch them live. Now you can do both. So we shall see. I know a lot of people laying in bed with their partner don't want to use headphones, just want to look at the caption.
Ted Ryman says, I can watch you on our 50-inch flat screen internet TV, but I'm in my office on my desktop.
You must be looking at fine print. You're having to lean in over there.
I know. It is, but it's the comments are.
Yeah, I can see here my comments are. Okay, let's stop talking about all this. Thank you, everybody, for helping us sort this out. As I said, the goal now is to get this live on sailingillustrated.com, which I can do. I've tested that before. Didn't have time to get around to it today. And then all of our shows will be on that website. You won't have to come to YouTube unless you want to, and so on and so forth. Okay. Final comment, support us on Patreon if you would, please. It really helps. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. $1 or $5 or $10 a month is a huge help to
Or
us.
5,000 if you're just have nothing to do.
Well, we
with
do
it.
have a couple people.
I know.
But, every little bit helps. And I have to pay the heat and light here. My landlady is also very demanding.
Oh, yes.
I pay the rent on time. And I have to go up and fix her a cocktail at night, or she might.
And a lot of
She might evict me.
Right.
Okay, welcome to show number 347. That's a long preamble, almost half an hour preamble. Friday the 6th of November. Really appreciate it. Let's get into the World Sailing segment, as you all know, and as we tried to bring you. And by the way, next time, World Sailing, I don't get angry, I get even. You know me. There's no point in life in getting angry. Next time, we will still do a watch party, and you can watch on your phone us and watch the World Sailing stream on another device. Everybody's got multiple devices these days. You don't have to watch me switching it to your screen. So you can watch World Sailing on one screen. You can watch us on the other, and we can still comment back and forth, help illuminate or elucidate what's going on in the video, which is all we were doing. We weren't making any snarky remarks. Well, that's not quite true, Julie. Some of our friends were making snarky remarks. But if you were watching that the other day until we got cut off, or if you continued watching it after we did get cut off, you could see it looked like Mr. Anderson knew he had not won the election. And I'm told he left the building before Mr. Kwan Hai Lee came on and gave his valedictory address, which had obviously been written in advance by presumably the staff, by World Sailing staff. But as you all know, these two are the finalists in the presidential election. Some people said, well, it's a race now that Gerardo and Scott Perry were eliminated in the first round. It's a race. Can I say this, Julia?
No.
I can't. Okay. Although, I won't call Kwan Hai Lee a communist, even though he works for the Chinese Communist Party. And I won't call Mr. Anderson, the late, great, the no longer president, the beleaguered, befuddled, and now behind us. How was that? Beleaguered, befuddled, and behind us. Put the past behind us. Isn't that what Pumbaa said in Lion King?
Right.
He's no longer president, thank God. And when you see Mikkel Thomason's report today on sailmagazinet.no about the TSE case, the Third Ethics Commission report, which Mikkel got a hold of. I got a hold of it too, but I didn't publish it, and I didn't put it in the show today. You will be astonished at, I won't call him a crook, but at the crookedness that was going on. I'll get to that in a minute. But suffice to say, Kwan Hai Lee from China, the first president, as far as we know, there's some a little back and forth on this, the first Chinese president of a Summer Olympic Federation. I think this is good for the sport. China's obviously a growing economic power and sailing.
And it's good for us.
And it's good for us, too. I mean,
absolutely.
A lot of people speak English, and we've had Lily Zhu on here, who was their golden Lily.
Yes.
Gold medalist from John Emmett coached her. Remind me, John, was that 2012 in Weymouth?
Yeah, I think so.
John, who's now her husband, of course. And we're very proud of the two of them. But they've also had a winning boat in the Volvo race. And to the extent Hong Kong is Hong Kong, China, there's a lot of sailing in Hong Kong. There's sailing in and around China.
Yep.
There has been a Chinese entry in the America's Cup. Oh, no, I beg your pardon. In the World Match Racing Tour. In fact, Phil Robertson was, I think, in Bermuda sailing for a Chinese team. Andrew Pindar will correct me. Also, we've had a Chinese entry, although no longer. They did have an entry in the inaugural year last year in Sail GP. And who knows what will happen. I think you're going to see a lot of China involvement, whether it's Americans or Brits or Australians or French guys helping them out, get up to speed. But how can that be bad for the sport to get more involvement in that corner of the world, in Asia? So congratulations to Kwan Hai Lee, full marks, bravo Zulu. We are going to be very supportive of him. He's supposedly, I've heard from any number of you, he supposedly is going to come on the show. I hope so. And the invitation has been extended. He's not said no, and he's through another common friend of ours has said no. He's very interested, wants to do that. He's got to get his feet on the ground with respect to the new job, yada yada. But he supposedly, in this article in the South China Morning Post that we ran on the show a week ago, maybe longer than that now, but the week before last, well, last week, he supposedly has a big real estate company that does, it does big stuff. They're apparently the size of, a huge company. And they are going to come in, the word is, I don't know if this is true. I'm not saying this is a TFE one hears, but a big company that said they will come in and help right the fiscal ship at World Sailing. And if that's true, as coming in as a sponsor, that's good. The bad news is it could end up being like Gazprom, the Russian sponsor that came in and then pulled out and actually led to some of the financial fiscal problems because everybody assumed that money was there. And then when it disappeared, that's the Gazprom that happened before Mr. Anderson was even president, and then it disappeared during his term. So that hopefully that doesn't happen. I hear there is a Chinese company that may sublet the office space in London, that hugely expensive, ritzy, fancy office space that World Sailing should have never moved from Southampton into the heart of one of the most expensive cities in the world.
But nobody's told us where we're going.
And good point. Nobody has told us where the office is going, if it's going to remain in the UK. I think I'm talking with Andrew Pindar, who's pretty well connected as a sponsor of many different events, including some World Sailing activities. He doesn't think it'll move out of Europe. Most of the rest of our friends in World Sailing don't think it'll move out of Europe, but there's been no hint or indication, and there certainly wasn't in the General Assembly last week and last Sunday when they did say, well, we're trying to sublet the office. This new CEO, David Graham, who's a Brit, who's come from Oman Sailing, from Oman, where he lived for 8 to 9 years, but is a lifelong or nearly lifelong sailor, is the new CEO since, July. I'm relying on him to really keep this show on the road. I haven't met him, reached out to him and said, come on the show. And hopefully he will. But everyone I know I've talked to, including Andrew Pindar and others of you who know him, Jamie Bogue in Australia and others, John Emmett and so on, say he is just, none of us is perfect, but he is really good and they're expecting good things. In fact, people have said couldn't have gotten anybody better other than maybe Ian Walker, who's the racing director at the RYA. Now, whether Mr. Kwan Hai Lee and the CEO, David Graham, are going to move the office to the continent. Brexit is part of this. That's a big problem. So we'll see if they move it to, there's some people think it'll go to Switzerland because the IOC is there. They've long since offered free space to, or reduced cost space to IFs, international federations. There are a lot of agencies and law firms and accounting firms and sponsor acquisition firms all surrounding Lausanne and the IOC and those other IFs. So you know how that synergy works.
Yes.
So let's see where that goes. And maybe Valencia, which is again offered space down in Spain. I don't see that happening, but maybe they'll just go back to Southampton. Maybe they'll go back to that space that Arve Sundheim told Mikkel Thomason about, which Mikkel's been on the show telling us, still is there apparently near the ferry dock in Southampton, the ferry that goes out to Cowes, and literally hundreds of thousands of yachts, men and women, walk right past what was the World Sailing Office there in Southampton on the south coast of England, just opposite Cowes, the Isle of Wight, where the ferry comes back and forth. So bravo Zulu to him, to our new president. They're going to be fully supportive, and his new board, I hope, is going to be good as well. Now, to Mikkel, Tom, what are you saying? You got a comment?
Andrew Pindo says, if anyone thinks London is expensive, try Lausanne.
Well, that's true. I mean, Swiss, Geneva, Lausanne is hugely expensive. Julie, I'm going to move your camera back just a bit if you're going to lean in.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
No, you have to do it. I don't want you to, I don't want you to bump your head on your camera. There, that's a little looser shot. That's okay. But we got to try to get that that font larger on it. It is. I can on my. I've got it here on both my phone and on one of the computers, and it is small. What other comments, Julia?
I I just messed up my chat thing. Wait.
Andrew Watson, if staff wouldn't move from Southampton to London, they're not going to move to Lausanne. Yeah, there's always the issue of how many staff you're going to lose in any move.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost a bunch of staff moving up to London. Who else here? Yeah, Alicia Zhu, gold medalist 2012 Olympics, Weymouth, in the laser radial, I think, from memory. Well, not memory, it was. China won. Yeah, China won is Phil Robertson. Andrew Pindar is reminding us. Julia.
Gordon Smith says, actually, I'm more interested in his consensus, quantities, consensus building than any apparent funds. And there was some suggestion that World Sailing would now be awash with cash. It's not going to be awash with cash. It'll be lucky to pay off its debts.
Well, that is true, and they got millions of dollars now of debt, both to the IOC. Maybe the IOC will end up forgiving it, and they better hope that the Olympics happen next year, because without the television revenue from the Olympics, there'll be some more sharing. Julia, I just a lot of comments here. It is a little hard to see the smaller YouTube comment. We'll get at one of these side apps that make them bigger. Go ahead.
The computer does make it larger. I can increase the size of it.
Great community here. A lot of folks on. Current viewers 57. Thanks to all of you for joining. Really weird. I watched the WS meeting from a friend's page on Facebook, and we shared a bunch of honest comments, Gordon Smith is saying. So exactly where WS trying to achieve from trying to block a free-to-air broadcast. Well, it was crazy. And I think that may have just been Mr. Anderson's last gasp. He said, "What? Ehman is live streaming or doing a watch party? Get him off the air."
Yes.
Actually, I'm Gordon Smith, you read that comment. Big boat building industry too. Yeah. Thanks, Andrew Pindar. David Graham has also he worked for RS Yachts, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the UK, but he also has an extensive boat building experience, the new CEO of World Sailing. John Emmett, we want to keep Ian Walker in the UK, thank you. Don't steal him from us. If anyone think, what else?
Wet hog. Fine.
Wet Hog is on.
Yes.
Welcome back, Wet Hog, and he's in Annapolis or Baltimore or someplace.
Yes. Finally found you. What did I miss? And I've missed him because I don't know about him.
Yeah, Wet Hog is a great guy from the East Coast. He's been a big active. He's been very active and funny on Sailing Anarchy forums over the years. I've talked to him once or twice on the phone. Bill Wingrove is saying, "Hoggy."
Yeah, I know.
Very popular. Stingray knows. And Wet Hog, we have heard that the A word 4 times by my count. What's the A word? Oh, Anderson. There's 5th. 6. Anderson.
Oh, never mind.
He must be involved in that drinking contest. David G. was at Laser. Okay, Andrew Pindar, thank you. David Graham at Laser, not at RS Yachts. He was CEO of Laser Performance for many years and did some time. Oh, he did do some time with RS. Okay. Anderson, the beleaguered, befuddled, behind us now, Kim Anderson. Now, let's get back to this report. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to paraphrase it even. Mikkel Thomason put this up. Go over to sailmagazinenet.no, and it's the whole report, soup to nuts. And the headline, "Killing Report," I think it's not it's a bit of a mistranslation. This is a deadly report, I think, is what you might say in English. Deadly report from the head of the commission. That is, actually, it was the investigative officer, Lawrence Berger, who is a Swiss lawyer. Lawrence Berger's report leaves Kim Anderson with little credit. And there's Mikkel Thomason's very fine reporting he has done. You can go to his page, again, Magazine Net, say SEIL, sailmagazinenet.no, and I'll put that up again in a moment. And you have Google translation from the original Norwegian into German. Look, I'm looking at those flags: German, Spanish, Finnish, French, English, and Swedish down there at the bottom. Oh, I get to use camera 4.
Yes.
And you just click on those flags on sailmagazinenet.no, and you can read it with pretty darn good translation.
Yes, it is pretty good.
Isn't it? In all those other languages. And again, it's devastating. I've had this report. I've sat on it at the request of the person who gave it to me. I think Mikkel got it from a different person than I got it from. Yes, we compared notes. I knew he had it. He knew I had it. And I said, well, when you feel free to publish it, you do it on your website. I'll then address it on the show. He published it on the website this morning, sailmagazinenet.no. So that's why I'm now going with it on the show. And I can tell you this, Julia.
Yes.
That as soon as he published it, World Sailing again tried to censor it, asked him to take it down off his website. And this is a report that, is basically a public report. But again, they're trying to squash the news. It looks like our presidential election over here.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikkel called me this morning or emailed me this morning. He said, we had that request and we politely declined to take it down. So it's all there. I'll post it in due course, either on the website or I don't know if I'm going to use Facebook much anymore. I'm sort of disgusted with Facebook. Bravo Zulu to you, Mikkel Thomason, for the great reporting you've done throughout. But when you read this report and it's 60 paragraphs, they're each numbered and line by line. It is devastating and brutal. The Ethics Commission has three choices. When they get one of these complaints, and then they hire an investigative officer who, by the way, the investigative officer said that Mr. A did everything he could do to try to stifle the investigative officer's investigation, including to and through and even now after the election. Because I tell you, when you read it, you're going to think that there was not just cretinism going on, but crookedness. A couple people comparing notes this morning, after reading that report, think that the actions, as I said at the top of the show, Mr. Anderson probably personally, not because of his own expenses. I don't think there's any pocket money being pocketed by him. I have no evidence of that.
No.
But he probably cost the organization through these contracts, the ballooned up, overblown contracts and various things, the move to the office to Southampton, from Southampton to London, north of $3 million US. Julia?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. Other than that, on that report, what will happen now, because the Ethics Commission, having received that report, can either, not the report, but they, when they get a complaint, they can either dismiss the complaint, they can have somebody investigated and issue a warning, or they can have somebody investigated, as they did with this person, Lawrence Berger, this lawyer woman from Switzerland, who's a very highly competent, you can tell from her writing, but she's also done a lot of this sort of work for other international federations and apparently the IOC. I think she's originally Canadian. Let me just finish. So they can dismiss it. They can give a warning like they did in case 2 against Mr. Anderson and that forging of signatures onto the letter they sent to me, or they can level charges. And in this case, they have leveled charges against Mr. Anderson for unethical, and it's pretty gross, frankly. Julia.
Sven Overup says that
Soren in Denmark.
Yeah, says that the report is 23 pages in A4.
Yeah, so. It's a long report, and in A4 on A4 pages, meaning that that's the European version of 8.5 by 11.
Right.
The rest of the world's version.
Yes.
Some of us can read it in Norwegian. Gordon Smith is bragging. He's bragging.
Well, that's a good idea.
I can read it in Spanish. I could struggle through it in German, perhaps, but I wouldn't try. Wet Hog, what a surprise, Paul Homchick is saying. Steve Gruber, beleaguered, befuddled, but apparently not behind us. Can we move on? Okay, Steve. Fair enough.
Yes.
The report has only been posted today, so not a good reflection on the new regime. Well, I think the new regime wants to put the past behind them, too.
Yeah.
As do we. So let's move forward to the VP. Oops, that was 2 slides. I want to just go to 1 slide here. The VPs, and I'm just going to take you through them. I can come to camera 4 if you want. On the upper left corner is one of the people we endorse. This is the Turkish woman, Özlem, Ms. Özlem, and she was elected. Second from the left on the top row is another one we endorse. That is Philip Baum from South Africa. So for the first time, the organization has a South African, has an African continent, somebody on the African continent. Now he's European, he's Dutch or German or both, but full marks to him. And he is a chair. He was chair. This is Philip Baum. He was chair of one of the largest, if not the largest, mining company. Chairman. I don't know if CEO, chairman, but Julia, you may want to tip your mic up a little bit. There you go. Thank you. But a top-notch business guy. So I think having a business mind like him will be good. This is Ms. Byerly. Where am I here? I better go to camera 4. Ms. Byerly from down in the Caribbean. She did not get elected. We backed Bill Canfield from the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. Sadly, he did not get elected. This is Thomas Shamara from Poland, who did get elected. We didn't back him because he got a lot of he had a whole lot of backing already anyway, so I didn't worry too much about it, getting him backed. And I didn't know him, so I didn't want to back somebody I didn't know. This is Kim Dawson. Dawson, right? Jan Dawson. Thank you. That's why they didn't feel right. They're second row left. She is the Kiwi, has been as a vice president for the last 4 years, ran again as a vice president. She was head of the finance committee. She got the fewest votes of anybody, of any of these 15 vice presidential candidates, as well she should have. She's gone. Sadly, Luca Devoti from Italy. I'm doing this from memory, so if I mess up a name or two, forgive me. Luca Devoti, our dear friend, he's been on the show any number of times. He did not get elected. He was just on the cusp, but I think part of the reason is that Luca and Ricardo Simoneski from
Italy,
both from Italy, I think they split the Italian and some of the Mediterranean vote, and there was some other politics going on, sadly, because Luca would have been a terrific vice president. In the middle is Mr. Heffernan from Norway. He did not. He's a lawyer, former president of the Norwegian Federation, and a commodore of his yacht club. And sadly, he had not much world sailing experience, but a lawyer of considerable repute, according to Mikkel, and I think he would have been good. Then in this row here, next to him is Sarah Kenny from Australia. Sarah has been elected. Congrats to her. She's been chairman of the events committee. I know her not well, but well enough to say I think she will be terrific. I think she'll be good. None of us is perfect. There are some people who argue she isn't. She's got conflicts of interest, but if she does, she can declare them. This is over here on the far right is Yann Roucherou from France. He's been the athletes representative. He's now been elected as a vice president. The Olympic athletes elect a representative of their own to go on the board, which presumably will happen next summer in 2021. And we still hope the gal from Canada might get elected.
Oh, yeah, she's
the
terrific.
laser radio sailor whose name now escapes. That's really good. I'll put her in the show again. She's been on the show.
Yes.
What's her name? Emmett will remind me what her name is. Terrific sailor. She's of African descent. She's from the Caribbean, now living in the Greater Toronto area. Okay, back over here. Corey, thank you. Circle down the lower left corner. Has been elected. We didn't back her, so I'm probably not on her Christmas card list, but she nonetheless is a very bright gal, a terrific sailor. We were backing up here Mr. Canfield, Bill Canfield, who I thought was going to represent North America, including the Caribbean, better. But Corey will be a terrific representative. She's very quiet. She doesn't have a lot to say publicly. Hopefully behind closed doors on the board, she will be tough and strong because she is extremely bright and she is a terrific sailor, which frankly, that is the good news about this whole crowd, is that I think they all are good racing sailors, with the possible exception of the president, he says he's a recreational sailor.
I'm for recreational.
This is T.S. Tong Sheng from Hong Kong. We backed him. He did not get elected, but frankly, if you've got the Chinese president, you probably don't need also a Hong Kong Chinese vice president. This is Malav Shroff from India, who's a very bright guy. He's become a bit of a friend. We've had a lot of communication back and forth. He's been active in the Federation in world sailing, and no doubt will still be around on committees and so on. And Ricardo Simoneski here, also from Italy. He's been on the show 3 times. Terrific guy, great sailor, former president of the Melga's 24 class and the Star class, and he's the racing director at the Yacht Club Italiano. He did not get elected. And then down in the lower right corner, I'll test Julia because when we went through these briefly before the show.
Spelaine.
Well done, Julia. That is Marcus Spelaine, whom we did not back, but he's a terrific guy. He's been on the show, Irish by heritage, and lives in. Well, look at this. If I put my feet on the table, I'm bouncing the camera around. I'll try not to do that. Sorry. Marcus Spelaine, who lives in New York, has been president of the NACRA 17 class and the 49er and 49er FX, has stepped down from those classes. In fact, we'll talk some more. I've talked to Ben Rimacher about what's going on in the 49er and the 49er FX class and who their new president is. Yarvahi, who's on here.
Yes.
Is he on here?
Yes.
And he has been elected president. We've told you that before. So he's replacing Marcus Spelaine here in the lower right corner. It's easier if I go over here and point. I like that camera.
Yes.
Everybody thinks I'm a crouton. But then just yesterday, it was announced that the new president, at least the interim president of the NACRA 17 class, you know who that is?
I wasn't listening.
Australian gold medalist. You can write see who gets it first. But this is a senior series professional sailor who's come on to serve at least in the interim as the president of the
what?
Of the NACRA 17 class. Oh. And it's great to see people stepping up to the role.
Yeah.
No, not Ashby, not Yarvahi. No, Yar is running the. Oh, it's not Yarvahi. It's Yerky Yarvi. I got the JJ's Yerky Yarvi. Tom's backing is the kiss of death. It would seem. No. Most of our candidates were backed. We lost 2 or 3 out of 7. That's not bad out of 15. That's Alistair Banks.
There are a couple of comments.
Nathan Outeridge. Marcus got it first. Nathan Outeridge.
Naked
Outeridge. But, Nathan, who's been sailing in the class with, I believe, his sister, and of course is in Sail GP, and is an America's Cup veteran and Olympic, 1 or 2 medalist, 2-time medalist. So full marks to Nathan for stepping up and helping. We'll see if he remains president big picture, long term. Julia.
There are several comments that agree with this. Gordon Smith, I think having a president from outside of Europe and North America is a wonderful development and hope to see some specific actions to broaden participation.
Yeah. Well, remember, we've only once before had, I assume he's talking about Quan Hai Lee.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Not about Nathan Outeridge.
No.
But
no.
I agree, of course, and I think most everybody on here would. Remember, we've only had one president from outside of Europe, and that was Paul Henderson. All the others have been Europeans. In fact, Scandinavians. The last 4 have been Scandinavians.
Yeah.
I can say that as a Norwegian. Come on. Everybody's got a sense of humor, right? Okay, that's it for our World Sailing wrap-up. We're almost an hour into this show, and sorry for all the gas bagging at the start, but
that's it. That whole board looks like a nice fresh start, and I'm excited for them. Not that they don't have lots of work to do, but
you arguably that's a tough job. Hopefully they'll go well, they'll do well, and we're confident that David Graham is the CEO, as the chief of staff, as the full-time member.
We get to have him on.
Yeah, we'll get David on. I'm sure everybody says he will come on. I haven't talked to him personally, but hopefully he will. Okay, our main segment is a 30-minute interview with Andrew Cape, and it's really by way of a Bravo Zulu because he is announcing a brand new round-the-world race, as we said at the top of the show, that is by way of Back to the Future. It's really a Whitbread-style race. Bring your own boat to a race that starts in less than a year. It starts next October, 21. And it's going to go around the world with 3 stops in Cape Town and then in Hobart, someplace in South America, and then back up to Europe, presumably the Solent. He hopes to start and finish in the Solent, but he's got to do that deal. May end up being in France or someplace else in the north in that corner of Europe, either England or the continent. But I recorded this interview yesterday with Capey, as he is known, Andrew Cape. He is probably got more ocean miles racing. I mean, he's a superb navigator, weather router, and so on. In fact, when we talked, he's in France helping get Alex Thompson up to speed, helping assist him in preparation for the race, the Vendée Globe, which starts Sunday, just in 2 days' time. So this is a 30-minute interview to tell you about the Great Cape Race, which he is with this video. It's his first live interview, the first interview, I believe. I've seen some other media this morning with their press release, but I'm grateful for him coming on, and I think this is great news for the sport.
And it's fun to get to know him.
Yeah, you've seen the video, right?
Yeah.
And I think the interview, and it is fun to get to know him. I've known him since forever from the Cup, but not well. And also, he's going to give us the latest from France, where he's cooped up in an apartment. He can't even go down to the dock because they're all under this new lockdown orders that sadly all of you or many of you are in Europe. So without further ado, let's go have a listen to this interview from yesterday with Capey. If I can get it started.
Yes.
There we go. I'm delighted to have a very special guest here joining us from France to tell us about a cool new race. This is maybe one of the biggest developments, especially in the offshore world, in memory. And joining us from Les Sables d'Olonne in France is Andrew Cape. Capey, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So what's this big announcement? This I know you're in France because of the start on the 8th in a few days of the Vendée Globe, and I do want to get to that. Apparently you're helping Alex Thompson, is that right?
That's correct, yeah, helping Hugo Boss for the preparation of the Vendée Globe.
Terrific.
Looking forward to that as well.
Let's get to that in a second, but one hears that you're about to announce, in fact today, Friday, when this airs on TFE Live, that you're announcing a cool new ocean race a la the Whitbread.
Yes, we're announcing a new crude around the world race. It's a different format to the ones that exist now and exist in the future, and we're attracting a sort of different clientele. But that's the announcement. And
it's called the Great Cape Race, as I understand it, and you're starting in the Solent and going around, well, 3 capes, really, if you count Cape Lewin in Australia. You want to take us through the course?
Well, the course is a 3-stop, 4-leg race starting from Europe. I've got that Europe there. At the moment, planning to start it in the Solent to Cape Town, traditional good place to stop. From there to Hobart, so the fleet can include if they want to, they can include or do the Sydney to Hobart yacht race, giving them enough time to restart in Hobart itself. Hobart to South America, a port is not announced yet. We're still negotiating with yacht clubs there. And then 1 leg at the moment from South America straight back up to Europe, where a boat would typically be ready for the European summer season.
And starting is, I guess it says here, as I understand, and thank you for sending me the notice of race. Is the notice of race now widely available, or will be?
You just have to ask. On the website, just got to click on it, and it'll be emailed to you.
And what is the website called?
It's thegreatcaperace.com.
So it starts in October, just a little less than a year from now, the 3rd of October, 21. And the Volvo, of which you've done what, how many Volvos have you done?
I've done 7 of them. Well, 2 were Whitbread races, but you know what I mean.
So you've been doing it since it was the Whitbread, and this race now 3 stops, and including the ability to do the Fastnet, including the ability to do the Sydney Hobart, around to then to South America, and then back up. You're going to start and finish in the Solent, probably.
That is the plan right now, unless interest has it or a port comes along and offers us a better place to start than that. The Solent is the target start and finish at this moment.
And right now, the VOR, the Volvo, what used to be the Volvo Ocean Race, now TOR, the Ocean Race, as I understand it, is postponed until 2022. Is that right?
That's right. They've postponed, and that is open to IMOCA 60-footers and the old FAR 67s.
Yeah. Now
65.
let's talk, if we can, let's talk about the actual handicapping rule, because unlike the ocean race with the FAR 65s, I guess, whatever the one design boats where they've been used in the last two editions and will be used in the next, with the water coming over the deck designed to make it look good for TV. Your handicapping rule, I mean, you have a handicapping rule. This really is a Back to the Future, a Whitbread style handicap.
Well, the boats we're trying to attract are boats that are existing of all different types. At the moment, we've limited it to boats over 60 feet. And also there's a performance handicap, if you like, that they have to be able to do leg one in 30 days, which sort of cuts out slower boats, if you like, modern style boats greater than 60 feet. So handicapping is just a way of fitting in all different types of boats. And I've chosen the ORC rule because it does allow for foiling boats, it allows for all types of boats. And this is the only way we could really get boats of those styles to come up with a fair handicapping system.
So existing boats, 60 feet and over, and you've got a time limit on the first leg of what? I think it cut out there.
Yeah, 30 days.
30 days from the Solent down to Cape Town.
Yeah, to be able to enter, so for the entry to be accepted. So that would be even an old Volvo Whitbread 60 would meet that criteria, not a Swan 65 or something like that. But so you do need sort of a modern ballasted style boat to meet the criteria.
And the ORC rule, and you said that will allow semi-foilers as well?
Yes, it does.
So a Mocha 60s?
Correct, yeah. It should be able to fit any type of boat that's out there at the moment.
And that's a Mocha 60s, whether it's, you know, Charlie Enright, Mark Towell's crude Mocha 60 that they're supposedly doing for TOR. I mean, supposedly they are. And also single or double-handed Mocha 60s like the Vendée. That's
right. It should be accommodate any boat from that class, foiling or non-foiling. And I mean, if we attracted enough IMOCA boats, we would start a class within the race, have their own a separate trophy as well. But they'd always be handicapped with the other boats in the fleet.
So you'd handicap the big fleet, but if they have X many boats, what, 5?
Oh, it's exactly that. Over more than 5, then they can have a little trophy as well.
And Andrew, you have more ocean miles than what? Any, you know, Bala Becking, I don't know. You're one of the, got more ocean miles than just about anyone else on the planet. Who else is in your league?
I like to think I've got, right now, I'd like to think I've got the most racing miles. Guys like Stu Badentine have done a lot of miles. Bauer's done a lot. I think I might have just eclipsed him because I've done a few more things. But, you know, that won't last long, I don't think, that record.
What, 18 Hobarts?
18 Hobarts, yes, that's correct.
How many
That's nothing, Australian.
How many fast nets?
I think I've done 14. I think I've also done a single-handed fast net on it's a different race altogether, so I can't. And that's only every second year, so I've done a lot of them.
Barcelona double-handed round the world race?
Yeah, that was a great event, and that's, you know, the hardest round the world race I've done. You know, obviously, the less people you got, the harder it is, but at the end of it, you enjoy it. It's, you know, it's hard work.
And Kenny Reed, I know you said with Kenny Reed on Puma back in, what, 09, 10 of the, what was then the Volvo?
Yeah, that's right, in the Volvo 70.
But, and you've done all the Volvos since, I guess, since the Whitbread days, at least, except when, I think this is when we first, I guess we met in San Diego during the Cup. You were with what One Australia in San Diego?
Meeting you there, one of the bars or parties.
Were you on the boat that day?
When it sunk? No. The next day, the next race I was, but it was with place back to the old boat.
One Australia, San Diego, 1995. I guess February was it of 95. One of the, I was with Dennis in that. I ran the 88, 92 events in San Diego and was with Dennis's team in 95 as his rules advisor. And I was out on the chase boat, and we came over to assist. But by the time we got there, the Kiwis were helping your chase boat.
Yeah.
What an
Yeah, I was on the weather boat that day, and by the time we got there, the people were already on their way in.
Yeah, that was one of the most amazing things any of us, I think, have ever seen. And then, of course, people don't realize this. I don't think a lot of people know that you were with Alinghi in Auckland in 03 when Alinghi won the first time that a first-time challenger won the Cup and the first European challenge to win the Cup.
Yeah, that was a great time as well. Very professional team, and it was a really good team to be a part of. So I really enjoyed that.
Well, as I said, that was an amazing performance by those guys. We were in the finals with you. I was with Oracle with Larry's team. What were we, Golden Gate Yacht Club, and you beat us. I guess what was it, 4-0 or 5-0? I can't remember. I don't even think we took a race off you.
No, I think you did. You took one in the Louis Vuitton.
We take one race, and then you probably Brad Butterworth felt sorry for us. Let us win a race and just to confuse the Kiwis, but then you went on and you waxed the Kiwis. You beat the Kiwis in the 03 Cup, 5-0?
Yeah, that was a good time.
And of course, their boat was breaking. That first race, they took water in through the scoop.
Yeah, they had a lot of technical disasters. Really, the mast fell out. The next race, it was wasn't that time.
So with all these ocean miles, with an America's Cup win, and on and on and on, you're not going to sail in your newly announced race, apparently.
Well, I'm 58 now. I'd like to do more, but I feel like I can contribute more to the sport now than by helping it out and trying to help return my knowledge to the sport and help the young of today. One of the reasons for starting up this race is I don't think the opportunities that I had exist for the younger guys of today because of the higher budgets and the limited amount of boats. Those opportunities aren't there. So I think if we could make an event that attracted more people, it would get more crew and more people can have a great time and a great future.
So are you the founder, the CEO, the race director, all those things?
Oh, I call myself the race director now and head of the technical committee or whatever you like, because there's not many of us at the moment. But race director.
So I think when I first heard about it about a month ago, and I kept a lid on it until you guys were ready to go public. Jamie Bogue and who else is involved besides you and Jamie, and who else?
Well, Jamie's team of High Aspect, which is a sports marketing company. We've got Phil Allen, who looks up the financial side of it, which is pretty important because we've obviously got to run this to a budget. And Jonathan Russ looks after the event side of it and the sponsorship and all those sort of things.
Fantastic.
After the media side of it at the moment.
Well, a fantastic initiative. Let me summarize and see if I've got this right. The Great Cape Race, starting October next year, 2021, going to Cape Town, going to Hobart, then going around to South America, a port to be announced, yacht club to be announced, then back up, presumably start finish in the Solent, though you keeping your options open in case somebody in France comes along or somebody in the south coast of England comes along and says, hey, we'll host you here?
That's exactly right. France especially. I mean, if someone wanted, I know there are a lot of ports here that like yachting. If they want to put a bit of money in and help the race out, then we'd
what do you think of the RORC's move of the start of the Fastnet over to France? There are a lot of people, the traditionalists, not too happy about that, but I think a lot of the sailors are really, frankly, very happy about it, aren't they?
I'm not sure. That's the finish. I don't like it, the change, because I know from sailing around Cherbourg, you're near the Channel Islands there, you're near the shipping lanes there again, the Casquette shipping lanes. And it's very narrow, very high, very strong tides. It's just a very hard place to sail. I think it's an extension of that race that doesn't need. And I think it's really for political reasons. They weren't getting much out of Plymouth and they wanted to smack them or whatever. So, but I don't agree with it.
So, yeah, it doesn't sound like you're a huge supporter of it, but it does sound like maybe, as you say, it's political. I know that they are running this new race out of Plymouth and out. They call it the Lonely Rock race, and out and back. or back to Plymouth, I should say, starting in the Solent and then finishing back in Plymouth. You didn't sail in that race, did you?
No, that was meant to be this year, I think, which was cancelled because of the COVID.
Well,
but again,
I think they did it, but it was a very limited. I think that they did. I can't remember. They were promoting it, and I ran a couple of pieces on it. But.
All right, no, I didn't hear if it happened, but again, I think that's probably a good idea. You know, if it fills the gap, if that's what people want to do, which I think a lot do.
So October next year, October 21, finishing in, when will it finish? June of 22?
Yes, in March.
March of 22. So from Europe, presumably the Solent, hopefully the Solent, back around, Whitbread style with 60-foot minimum boats. I mean, you're really hoping for the maxis, the super maxis, the Comanches, and these kinds of big boats, right, in the race?
That's correct. And we've got a lot of interest for them, believe it or not. But anyone with a good boat that's capable of sailing, you know, Category 0 in the ocean is what we want. And we've targeted a few, and there's enough out there. Just got to get interest now and hopefully attract boats. I mean, 2021 is an ambitious target, but I like to think, you know, the world's recovering from COVID, and I think ocean racing, crude ocean racing especially, is going to need an event, otherwise it will slowly die.
Exactly. Well, I think it's a great initiative. I've been excited about it since I heard about it from Jamie about a month ago. Delighted that you could come on, but can we segue over to well, maybe we segue to the next upcoming event before the Vendée is the next, and then we'll go to Sydney Hobart, because you, having been a veteran of that race and apparently not sailing it this year because of the COVID. Is that right? Let's stick with Sydney Hobart for a sec. So you sailed with, well, I don't know, with all the super maxis, right?
Yeah, I've done most of them. I haven't done a Hobart with Wild Oats, but yeah, no, that's a great race. Always, that's what they call it, and I enjoy doing it. And being my home country as well, I enjoy the opportunity to get down there when I can.
Where in Oz are you from originally?
Good question. I'm from Queensland, but my father was in the military, so I've moved all up and down the East Coast, so I've been everywhere.
Well, sticking on that for a sec, and then we'll come back and talk about the Vendée Globe, which starts in a couple days. And you're helping Alex Thompson there in France, which we really want to hear a lot about, or certainly more about. As I understand it, Wild Oats and one other Squark's boat's not going. Is that right?
Sparks boat, Blackjack is going.
Oh, Blackjack is going.
Yes. They're going. Scallywag's pulled out. I think they've had difficulties getting crew in and out, so I think the boat's actually moved away from Australia, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So tell me about the difficulty, because it's the reason why you're not sailing in it as well, COVID related.
Well, I live in Europe, and I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks, which is okay, but my time doesn't come for free, I like to think. So somewhat, and also getting travel from Europe to Australia now is next to impossible. It's hard to get, and also it's very expensive. So I can't see a team wanting to get me that desperately for this year.
Which is why Wild Oats and several of the other bigger boats have pulled out, because those that are not using local crew, that are using pros that fly in. So, well, that's sad. It's too bad, but they are going ahead, apparently, from everything I'm hearing. Is that what you're also hearing? It's on.
I heard a release today that, again, I always knew they could probably go ahead, but it's all go. Interstate travel's allowed, which would be hard to do without that. But no, it's all go, which is a good thing. Cases, so it'll work.
If you're just joining us, we have Andrew Cape on from, well, he's an Australian, but he's in France with for the start of the Vendée Globe, which is on the 8th, and he's helping, he's assisting, he's advising, I assume helping to route. Do you say routing or rooting?
Routing.
For not Americans, rooting is like cheering on or doing a route through the maps, but of course for Antipodeans, rooting has a different meaning.
Totally, yeah, you're right.
we've also made that. But congrats on the great Cape race. Delighted to hear about that. We'll follow that closely. Please come back and give us an update as you move forward here for this race starting in 2021 and Whitbread style, going from Europe to Cape Town to Hobart and then back to Europe, or to Brazil rather, and then back to Europe. So 3 stops en route. Handicap race with existing boats, not one design, 60-footers plus, that can get from Europe to Cape Town minimum 30 days. So you're not going to use a boat with, you're not going to use a Swan 60 with lounge furniture in it.
Mm-hmm.
KP, tell us, if you would please, what's going on a couple days before the start of the Vendée Globe, maybe the most exciting ocean race in the world. You've got, what, how many boats total?
33 boats, which is an amazing entry. And it will be a very exciting race. I'm really looking forward to watching it. Just the different styles of boats, a lot of new boats, a lot of different configurations of foil. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. It'll be a great sport to watch. I'm locked down in Europe now. I'm not allowed out of this flat. And I might have trouble getting back to the UK. So it'll be a great thing to watch over the next coming months. And then the Cup to follow on will be another good. So it'll be an internet winter.
Well, and they've shut the village down when France shut down. And I was talking with Andrew Pindar this morning. We're recording this on Thursday. And of course, you know that today they've locked down the UK again. And it sounds like for a month, maybe 2, maybe through next March, Andrew was telling me. So I'm sorry to hear that, all our friends in Europe. And you are in the bubble. When the NBA did their thing down in Florida and kept everybody there at Disney World, and successfully kept everybody, with 1 or 2 exceptions, a couple of players that went off to a strip bar or something. But you're all in the bubble there. You can only go between your flat, I guess, and the race village. Is that right? Can't see anybody else?
That's right. I'm totally confined to my flat. I can do my work on the boat remotely. So I'm just really in town for whatever reason, I don't know. But, I can get it all done from here.
So you're not even going down to the dock. You're literally confined 24/7 in your flat.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, that's our in-house rule, really. And within France, you need a permit. You need to have a piece of paper on you saying why you've left your house. So it's pretty tricky.
Yeah, you got to have a passport, and apparently you can't go more than a kilometer, and then it's only during 1 hour a day. We've been covering this. Another friend of yours, Andrew McIrvin, who is of course the Secretary General of the International Maxi Association, IMA, and an esteemed British doctor, a surgeon, and he's been on the show any number of times updating us on the bloody COVID, and he has been right every time. He said, well, here's really what's going on, and a 3 weeks later, he was absolutely right. And probably time to get him back on, but we talked to Alistair Murray, who you will also know from your home country down in Melbourne and Victoria, and what the terrible lockdown they had. They're finally just emerging out of that, right?
That's right. They've had 100 days fully locked down. It was kind of terrible.
So
worse than China.
You're in France, and the race starts on the 8th. You're with Alex Thompson, but as I understand it, all of our viewers probably know, it's single-handed, nonstop, around the world, and you are really a coach advisor helping him prep for the race. But during the race, you can do nothing, no contact, other than he can take what? Can he take grid files from you, or from only that are publicly available, or what?
He can only get grid files from publicly available sources, which they've limited to a couple of specific sources. Once in terms of weather advice and routing advice, when they're on start day, that's the last time, and that's it. They're on their own, and that goes for a lot of things. The race itself is without outside assistance. They can't stop in a port and take on or fix anything. They're on their own, self-reliance.
And if they do stop, is it a penalty, or are they out?
If they stop and anchor in a place, a bay somewhere, and fix something, they can do it with the parts on the boat. But if they touch anything, or anyone touches their boat or gives them any spare part, they're out.
Right. And single-handed around the world alone, nonstop, it's got to be the toughest yacht race in the world.
without doubt. You hear a lot of catchphrases in ocean race, world's toughest ocean race and all this sort of stuff, but the Bondi's miles ahead of that. It is very much the hardest race.
And notwithstanding, there are a handful of women. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6, but quite a number of women of the 33 entries. I think there were 6. I ran this on the show a couple of weeks ago. And maybe arguably the top woman is Samantha Davies. And what do you think of her chances?
I think good. She's got an old boat with a new oil package on it. I think she's got a very good chance. I mean, a good thing about an old boat is that, it's proven, it's probably strong, it's been beefed up, I would have thought, and it'll be dependable. And, at least half this fleet won't finish, certainly won't finish intact. So everyone's got a good chance if you finish.
As they say in Formula One, to finish first you've got to finish, and that's one of the big challenges, obviously, in the Vendée as well. So how about your guy? How about Alex Thompson from the UK? You are one of the celebrated ocean racing navigators, strategists, weather guys in the sport, and you're telling him now what? Here's where to jibe if the conditions are thus and such. What kind of advice are you giving him pre-race now?
Right now, we're just looking at this, as we get closer and the forecasts are getting more reliable, we're looking at the exact scenario of what sail to put up off the start line and the choices you have. And really, after the first night, in the situations developing now, he'll be relatively, apart from a bit of strategy we set up, he'll be on his own, because you're only as good as the most recent forecast, and it's going to be changing quickly. So once we route him through the first day or two, he's got to make his own mind up.
So Alex has been a perennial favorite. He's been at the top of the fleet in TJVs and various other IMOCA 60 races, but he's had damage, he's had breakdowns, he's run into things. He's sort of almost like a perennial bridesmaid. What are his chances in this one, do you think?
His chances are good, but the boat's in great shape. It's done a lot of miles already, so it's already proven. It's just a matter of, all these boats are so different. They're going to have different modes all the time. It's just going to be able to finding the most of the best conditions for each boat. So they will go different ways, but that's one of the interesting aspects of just watching this race develop.
Who would you say is Alex Thompson's toughest competition?
Well, Chiral's a good boat. They've had a bit more time and they've worked hard. Any of the top French teams are always favourites, but I like to think Alex and Hugo Boss are in a good place.
Cool. Well, it's really interesting. It's sad that the COVID has caused such problems in the sport, but bloody hell, bravo Zulu to the Vendée, and I know they've put everybody, all the sailors have been quarantined, and the job they've done to make this happen, and for that matter, everyone else around the world that is making sailing happen. You talk about cost. It's almost impossible now to get a flight to New Zealand, let alone a cheap flight, because the capacity has been cut back. Then when you do, you have to, as Brad Butterworth just did when he went down, because he's now helping the Challenger of Record, and he lives in Europe, he lives in Switzerland, and he flew down, and then he talked about it on an interview I ran with one of the TV stations down there last Friday, I think it was. And, you sit in a hotel at someone's expense, not at the government's expense, for, it's reasonably pleasant. He said he had a view out in the harbor, but still, you're sitting there for 2 weeks, you're tested twice, and life's, for a lot of people, too short to have to go through that kind of a quarantine. I don't think I'm going to go down for the Cup.
Yeah, I don't even know if New Zealand are letting people in. I don't know. And it's hard. Yeah, it's put a lot of people off going down, and I don't know anyone outside of
you're right.
working.
They're letting their TV crew in, obviously, and other people who are I can't remember the term of art, the word, but who are essential, I guess is probably the word, to the conduct of the event. But bloody journalists like myself who can almost, not quite, can almost do it as easily from here. We're all learning how to do it. We can sit here in our little studio here in San Francisco and cover, as we do, the Fastnet race and the Sydney Hobart and everything else. and we'll cover the Vendée from here and learn to do it remotely, like you kindly coming on today and giving us this great insight into the Vendée, but also into the Great Cape race.
That's the one.
I'm really excited. Bravo Zulu to you, sir. I think it's a great concept. I think you're doing a great service.
Great interview.
Thank you very much. Let's just hope it gains a bit of traction with the owners that are out there. Let's hope they want a good sporting event and get their teeth into it.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help, Andrew, let us know. And we're delighted with this initiative. I think you're going to find a lot of uptake, and it'll be terrific for the sport. Anything else you want to add?
I think we've covered it all. Any more questions?
Not really. That's and just as long as we can get you. What are your movements now? This is being announced essentially today, Friday, when we're running this on TFE Live. We're recording this on Thursday, but after the start on the 8th of the Vendée, are you headed? Where are you living in Europe?
I live in Leamington on the south coast of England, but we've got 2 days here after the start because the boats are allowed to return to the start, believe it or not, if they have a problem on the first night, for instance. That's the only port they can return to. But there's a time limit on that. But so we're just staying for a few days in case there is a problem. That'll be unlikely. And then hopefully after Wednesday, I can make my way and hopefully get back into England.
So you'll be back to Leamington, and say hi to Bob Fisher if you see him. We know he's had some struggles up and down, but he's a dear old friend from way, way back. And Andrew, I really appreciate your coming on today. Much appreciated.
No problems, Tom. Nice talking to you.
Okay, that's Andrew KP Cape, Australian, one of the most celebrated ocean racers, navigators, weather routers in the sport. He's probably got more ocean miles other than, as you heard him talk about, Stu Ballantyne and Bowie Becking and maybe a few others, but has sailed in all of the major ocean races, virtually all the major ocean races. He's also won the Cup, and delighted to have him with us live from Les Sables d'Olonne in France, live to tape, obviously, where he is helping Alex Thompson get ready for the Vendée Globe. Okay, that was our half an hour long interview yesterday. As I said, live to tape. We appreciate I'm sorry to repeat, but I really thought that you said it was a good interview. You enjoyed it, and
I did.
I must say I really enjoyed the interview myself. I'm going to turn the screens down here a little bit. You don't reflect on my glasses, but what a great interview he is.
Mark Husta just said New Zealand TV they're on their own coverage with a cool commentator.
Well, I don't know how that is all working out. I know Ken Reed's headed down there. In fact, somebody made that comment here, didn't they? That
Ken Reed and his wife arrived December 1 in New Zealand to start their quarantine.
Okay. Well, just to recap what we've got going on here in this weekend. Starts on the 6th, on the 8th rather, in 2 days, Sunday. The Vendée Globe is starting up in France, going down around the Cape of Good Hope, across the Southern Ocean, past Cape Leeuwin, which is the southwesternmost corner there of Australia. You come out here. I've been to Cape Leeuwin when we were doing the Cup in Perth. It was a great, if you're ever in that corner of the world, I highly recommend it. It's a great thing to go down there and look and have the Indian Ocean on the left and the Southern Ocean the Indian Ocean on your right and the Southern Ocean on your left. And then after proceeding, they keep going because it's non-stop, unlike the ocean race or even the Cape race, the Great Cape Race, which is kind of a cool name with Andrew's last name.
Yes.
And Stingray saying that Stingette, that's his girlfriend, likes the name. So then they go around, of course, past the Cape Horn, the Corn, as Paul Caird calls it, and then back up to Europe. And that Vendée Globe starting here in 2 days' time. You can watch it live on their YouTube channel, VENDEE, Vendée Globe, on their YouTube channel, on their Facebook page, and so on. It starts, as we said, on Sunday. There are fully 6 women I think this is really impressive. 33 entries, and we know about Jeremy Bayou, and we know, of course, about Alex Thompson and others. But these 6 women that are racing in what you heard KP say that, but several of you made comments here saying this is the Yarvahi. I think made a pithy comment. It is a tough race, single-handed around the world, nonstop. Full marks to all involved that they're able to pull this off and make it happen starting this Sunday. I think it's at 1 or 1:30 French time. You'll see it on their website. I hope you can tune in. I certainly will. Have a look at it. We should probably do a watch party. I don't think they would kick us off. They're trying to get, and they had a lot of broadcast coverage too, I was noticing today, because you're going to have pictures like this.
Mm-hmm.
In what we ran this last week, the Vendée Globe out there all alone with 2 million people hanging.
Ken Reed and Shirley are doing the global.
On your every jibe. Now, Julia.
Yeah, Ken Reed and Shirley are doing the global coverage.
As commentators. Great. Yeah. That's good news. That's great news indeed. Okay, let's stop there. Go over any other comments before we move into the Cup segment. What are we, an hour and 34 minutes in? What other comments, Julia? Mark Nabinius, finally I found you. Sorry to everybody. We did this switch and we tried to publicize it as best we could. We have moved, it looks like everybody seems pretty happy with it, to YouTube for the duration. Also, that allows us to do some other things, but people are saying the video quality is better and the audio quality is still good. Charal looks incredible. Yeah, that's I think that's true. John Emmett, me too. Lockdown coming soon to a state near you in the USA, Steve Gruber is saying. And of course, that it's probably especially true if Vice President Biden is elected, and it looks like he probably will be. Very nice against the skin, reportedly. Silk. Okay, there's this. Do you see these comments, Julia?
Yeah.
This is an astonishing development. They are having to kill off, that Denmark's the biggest, apparently, supplier of mink.
Oh,
sold, yeah. And they're having to, apparently, what's the term of art? We learned that when we thought there was maybe transmission from humans to animals. Zoonotic. Is that the word?
Something like that.
Zoonotic or zoonotic transmission of the virus, of the COVID, from humans to animals and maybe vice versa, or who knows? But apparently these minks, some 400, 500. It's a big cull going on because they're going to have to kill all those minks.
17 million.
Is that really what the number is?
I think so.
Does anybody have the actual number here? 17 million. I see Gordon Smith saying, anyone want a mink coat? There's soon to be a surplus in northern Jutland. 17 million mink to be slaughtered due to the COVID. So I guess they still can have the mink stoles. They just have to kill the animals, and then they have all these stoles all at once, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, the COVID continues. What else are you saying, Julia? You're having trouble with that fine print. So am I.
I am.
Okay, here's a tip.
Henry.
Hit Command plus.
Yeah.
And it makes it much bigger.
Oh, I did.
Command plus at the same time. Hold Command down and hit the plus key.
I did that.
Okay, well, it made mine bigger.
Yep. But if you keep making it bigger, then it switches to under the.
Well, whatever. But if that helped me. Command plus. Anybody else having that problem? If you're watching full screen, you can't see the comments. If you're watching not full screen, the comments on the right side, or unless you're in vertical mode on your phone, then the comments below, and I don't know how to make them any bigger. They look pretty good on the phone.
Canary Reese says, yes, Jonathan Frank, this chat format does not seem as interactive as Facebook.
Well, the problem is they can't leave comments for other they can't reply to a comment that's already been made. And they also can't.
Oh, they could, but they'd have to.
No, I mean, in Facebook, remember, you can hit a reply and it'll go right to that comment.
I know.
And then the other thing is you can give a thumbs up. You can like somebody's comment.
You're right,
they can't do on here. And that's frankly one of the reasons why we went on Facebook to begin with and stayed on, because we wanted to develop the community, and maybe we'll find some alternative, some workaround so that we can have more interactive participation here. Julia.
Andrew Pender says, I'm pretty sure Kenny and Shirley are doing AC Global, not the Vendée Globe.
Yeah, I think that's what they meant. Did you say that? No, they're going to New Zealand to do the AC. And I don't know who is doing local. There probably is a local commentary team in New Zealand, and then there's probably the world feed. And sometimes, I mean, presumably there'll be Italian commentators for the feed into Italy. They won't use Shirley and Ken for that, but they may use for part of it. We'll see. I'm glad they've got Ken back, though, because he is terrific. Zoocrittonic, Jonathan Frank says, not zoonotic.
Yeah.
You guys doing great with a new platform. Interaction between viewers was good, though. Okay. Well, this is
We'll
just
work
the
on it.
very first time, and
Yeah.
as Julia says, we will work on it. Will this make my Mink to English translating app read? Okay, gosh. What hogs? Okay, guys, let's move on to the cup segment, shall we?
Yeah, somebody has, it is cumbersome, and somebody says it certainly limits the user base, but it shouldn't. Why would
Well,
it?
because we'll see. I think people will get used to it. We'll probably, as we said at the top of the show, have more views over the longer haul because of the search engine that YouTube is, the second largest search engine in the world. Cup, AC36, this segment. There is some Cup news. First of all, the courses, Bravo Charlie, which, as you know, the Harbor Master were not going to allow the challengers to use except in their finals, but in the challenger rounds robin and the semifinals, they weren't going to be able to use them. And the protocol requires that the challengers and the defender have equal use of these 5 course areas, actually 6 if you consider that there is two different course echoes depending upon the wind and sea condition. But it's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo, and it was these 2 courses here that are X'd out in this graphic that are the so-called stadium courses because they're between North Head and Bastion Point and the volcano, Rangitoto Island. And these 2 courses were to be the big, cool stadium courses where the public could be up there on the headland and to have a look at the race courses. And television could have fixed camera positions. So everybody was in an uproar, Grant Dalton in particular, because, of course, he promised that to the locals and to TV. But the challengers went to the R panel and said, excuse me, the protocol guarantees us equal access to all these potential course areas. And right now they're limited. The harbor master or the Marine and Harbors, whoever it was, we're limiting it. And we couldn't use Bravo and Charlie. Well, now they've rethought it. And now I told you at the time, if they come back now after the challengers win at the Court for Arbitration, it's the ACAP, the America's Cup Arbitration Panel. If they win this, it's almost looking like Grant Dalton had a wink with the harbor master and Ports of Auckland, whoever it is, that said, you challengers can't use those courses. And it was looking like, some of the skullduggery that we've seen in the past. We've seen that movie. I've been in that movie more than once. So this has now cleared the way. They're all going to go back. I'm told reliably by lawyers in New Zealand again yesterday afternoon, that they don't even have to go back to the arbitration panel because the R panel's ruling really said you just have to have equal access to the courses. And now that the harbor master said, well, you can use those courses during all of your racing. It's going to be late afternoon. Remember, it's going to start 4:00 local. So you can use it. We'll reroute the traffic, the ships, and so on accordingly. So that has solved CourseGate. The blame game and more hopefully now ends. The next point is this gentleman, Manuel Chaves from Brazil. We've been telling you about. We call him Mr. SBS. Mr. SBS. He is the gentleman who has, I don't think he's filed litigation. He is threatening to litigate against Emirates Team New Zealand and perhaps the challengers for patent infringement, saying that he has 2 patents, we've shown you these before, for this keel foil arm arrangement, lifting foil arms in a cruising style boat. And we've shown you the video. I'm not going to repeat it today, but that SBS, whatever that stood for, something sailing stability system boat, but I can't remember what SBS sounded like BS to me because a lot of people say, well, these this kind of idea has been around for a long time. And however, he apparently does have a patent in Brazil and in New Zealand. And there is the so-called Madrid Convention, which gives you global access. But if this ever got litigated, it would take years. No one that I talk to in New Zealand thinks that a judge, a court in New Zealand will issue an injunction, a temporary restraining order, call it what you want, depending upon your legal system, they will issue an injunction and join the cup from continuing until this threatened litigation or this litigation takes place.
It has really opposite intentions, because this is a very good, I think, stabilization system, but
for a cruising boat.
But the AC is foiling, and these aren't foiling.
Exactly. And we've shown you the video of the boat down in, I guess, Brazil, on which Mr. Chavez, Senor Chavez, has installed his canting foil arms. And of course, you can see the foils are quite different, but it's similar. It's similar. Here's the point. He's written to me complaining about us, some of the things we've said on here and representations we have made, and that a couple others of you have made. And I have invited him onto the show next Tuesday. Now, I haven't heard back, but there's a chance he will come on the show next Tuesday. I mean, I talk to people in New Zealand. Hey, what do you think if I invite the guy on? Well, it's a waste of time. I said, yeah, but in fairness and open transparency, let's see what he's got to say. And then all of you watching, our foes can ask questions live of him and of his system. And we'll get some lawyers on here, patent lawyers perhaps, or at least intellectual property lawyers who might be able to talk about this as well. So I'll hope to have him on, Mr. Chavez, on next Tuesday. Now, we told you about this article in the New Zealand Herald last weekend, 10/7. It was not, it was last weekend, wasn't it? I kind of lost track of time here this week with the U.S. elections. Team New Zealand, $3 million of public money and the need to boogie the numbers. Well, this has caused a huge furor down in New Zealand. We're talking to a lot of people down there, and Mr. Dalton is taking serious heat in the press and otherwise. We hear reliably, one hears that he has been down to Wellington yesterday to try to make peace with, I don't know what he was doing. I wasn't there, and I don't have firsthand reports, but he was down there. I'm told, and you take this with a grain of salt, but he's trying to raise more money for the team, which by all reports is struggling. And he's also trying to make amends and peace with the ministers and saying, well, we didn't use public money. We weren't boogieing the numbers. But you read this New Zealand Herald piece, and I tell you, it doesn't bode well for what they were doing, because this is from a tape recording of the meeting, apparently done by Mr. Mayo and Mr. Calder, who were the spies that got fired. And then, of course, the city agency, the city council, and the Wellington, the central government, brought in a forensic accountant to investigate all this. And finally, there's some public money that has flowed into Emirates Team New Zealand's coffers. And at first it was a loan, then it got repurposed as an invoice for the class development of the class rule. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Some people are saying remember that $3 million, give or take? I don't remember if it was Kiwi, I guess it was, that went into the Hungarian, bogus Hungarian account.
Yeah.
There are some people suggesting that money was sent purposefully to a bogus account and recovered by Team New Zealand. Now, I don't, I'm not saying that, but I have people telling me that. And I think what you are going to see is that the New Zealand Herald and the other media down there are so upset about having been, censored in effect by the court and by Team New Zealand going to court and getting the courts to say, hey, you can't publish the stuff that you apparently know or think you know. They're so mad that they're just going to keep dribbling out what they've got over with each passing, with passing days and weeks. So this is, unfortunately, it's not good for the cup. We don't wish this on Mr. Dalton or ETNZ. It is a little strange that they are not yet sailing their B2. Everyone's wondering why it's taking them so long, of all teams, to get their B2. Remember, the other three challengers had to fly not only construct, but then fly their B-2s in an Antonov, which took a week from their respective home ports, or in the case of, well, their respective home ports, to New Zealand, then commission the boats and splash them. And all three of them have been sailing on and off now for a couple of weeks. Terry Hutchinson for a little longer. In fact, we have a video I'll play in a sec of all three of the teams out. I don't know if it was today, Friday, which is now Saturday down there, of course, or if it was yesterday, Thursday in Auckland, but I'll play that for you in a moment. But people are wondering, hey, what's going on with ETNZ's B2, which I've heard. I mean, we had T. Hutch on the show not too long ago, and he said, oh, no, we've got, we keep their base under constant surveillance, which is legal. And we've seen their B2 go from where it was built up, I guess, on the North Shore, and we've seen it go into their base. So it's being fitted out. And we know that their B1 has been on the hard now for 2 weeks. And some people say sustained damage in that big nosedive that they did. And it had some helmsman went into the wheel and one of the wheels and so on. Now, what comments do we have here? That probably elucidated some. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Julia, go ahead.
They're not talking about well, they're talking about the possible issue with this patent is how it is about ballasted foils that are designed for alternately ballast and foiling.
Yeah, I think that's quite true. Simply amazing how the harbor master, this is, I guess, Stingray Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Dogzilla Monster, Stingray saying, simply amazing how the harbor master was the problem and not the challengers.
Yeah.
Clark Chapin. Well, then that's what, remember we ran that interview with Brad Butterworth from the morning, the AM show, and Brad said, hey, this isn't, he's a spokesman for the Challenger record.
Right.
They kept saying, well, you're the Luna Rosa tactician, aren't you? No, he's not. He's not sailing in this event. He's just helping the Challenger record out as a local yokel, and an esteemed local yokel at that. As somebody splainified something to the harbor master, as Brad Butterworth suggested, Clark Chapin is saying, no need to give him more airtime. So John Emmett doesn't think we should bring that guy on next Tuesday. I would say Ben Franklin talked to the harbor master. Maybe what I'll do, John, just thinking out loud, maybe I'll tape him. I'll do like I did with KP, and I'll do an interview, and then I'll edit it down rather than doing it live. Or do you all want to ask him comments? You tell us here in the comments below if you want me to bring him on live. It may be hard, may be difficult, but I'm sure he has the technology. Invite Hugh Welburn, too. Yeah, Yarva, hey, that's a good suggestion. Hugh would be good. He wants the free publicity. Yeah, he probably does, but, let's see. Who knows? I think Pedro Filing Sailor should threaten a patent lawsuit against SBS. The BS design obviously infringes on Pedro's design. Gordon Smith, Andrew, are you still using the Wilkinson Sword one wrist slicer razor blade with two? Okay, you guys. They are having some private.
Yeah.
What else? The Baltic 100-foot plus boat has a slide foot. Yeah. Outrage cheers, not just us. The B2 is in Long. Jonathan Frank says ETNZ's B2 is in Long Beach. No, those guys aren't. Are they rapidly trying to copy Ben's hull fence? Is that what we're calling it? Did we decide we're calling it his hull fence? Oh, I think it was John Emmett's suggestion.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I like Ben's bulge. But Julia, you didn't like that. You waved your finger at me.
Yeah.
Tom, don't be Croutonic.
Yeah.
Okay, too cutthroat for Gordon. Join John the hull fence probably, but they wouldn't dare. Okay, so I'm going to play this video now, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing about the respective teams, because you're going to see all three challengers appear in this video. I don't think there's any audio with it. This is a Justin Mitchell's latest video, and it's 4 or 5 minutes long. Let's get into it here. And as I said, I don't think there's any audio. They've been doing various mixes over these videos, but he either didn't have time or people said, well, we don't need to hear the seashore. This obviously is the American boat, New York Yacht Club's new boat called Patriot B2. and the syndicate American Magic, named after the original yacht America, and then the first Defender in 1870, which of course was named first of the boats that did defend. It was the winner, Magic, American Magic. Looking out across. Now they're passing in the other direction. Comes Ineos, obviously, and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. The Americans jibe. Do you think they're hooking up here? Richard Gladwell. I talked to Richard at length a couple days ago. Now look at. Don't make too much out of this because you got the camera angle.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I'm hearing, irrespective of what we're seeing on this video, which continues here. There comes a. Was that a jibe? That's a jibe from Sir Ben's team. Going back the other way, not wanting to hook up, I guess. And this is Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli's not been out all that often. There are rumors that they have structural problems. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard some discussion of that. That's a pretty good looking boat. And their maneuvers and their flying have looked to be pretty consistent. And I'm not biased. I'll tell you if I hear otherwise. I also hear their top speed is maybe not necessarily consistently, but they have hit speeds north of 50 knots, or so one hears. American Magic. But is that all? I thought that video was longer. Okay, I guess that's it. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, irrespective of any structural issues, which hopefully they do not have, and presumably they don't. I'm just saying there are people saying that they do. They have a huge measurement problem. And it's a measurement problem that is and it has to do with the position and the location of their winches and their grinding. And it may be so significant as to almost disqualify the boat. They're going to have to scramble around and make major structural changes to the boat to get it to measure, or so one hears. Now, if any of you hears otherwise, tell me. But that's what I'm hearing from multiple sources in Auckland. Not the measures. The measures won't talk to me, of course, and they shouldn't. But others who are in the know, including people who are connected with the team. You know, I have a lot of friends down there, and most of them won't talk to me and shouldn't. But, every now and then people like to tell you how much they know or think they know. Sometimes you have to be careful because they call you and wind you up. And they say, well, let's call him and tell him and get him to say this, stirring the pot with a big spoon. So you have to be careful and double and triple source these one hears another. That's what we're hearing. Yarvahe is saying, well, how can that be? They co-wrote the rule.
Yeah.
But, people make mistakes. It's a very complicated boat, as you've heard everybody say over and over and over again. It's a very complicated rule. You rush around to do the rule. You rush around to do a design for B1, then B2, because remember, in the Cup, the one thing you can't buy more of
It's time.
is time. The one thing you can't obtain more of that's unobtainium is time. And it's why they call these campaigns. Until you've been in one, I'll tell you what, it's hard. Because every second that you're not focusing on winning the bloody yacht race, and then you think every time you're doing something, am I allocating my time? Whether you're a designer or a sailor or a manager or even somebody in the comms department or the rules advisor, you say, well, should I be focused on this, or is there a higher and better use of my limited time, limited waking time? And am I sleeping too much? Should I be working 7 days instead of 6? Or no, I should be taking a day off? Should we give the entire team a long weekend to recover because we're going into a hard stretch? This is why these are campaigns, because they're like political campaigns. There is except in the American presidential campaign, which is going to continue, it sounds like. Tough business. So what else? What's everybody saying here as we wind down this Cup segment, Julia?
Somebody's getting fired on Luna Rossa team.
Yeah, they've had a fair bit of turnover on Ben's team also, but yeah. Who else? What else, Julia?
I hope there are 4 boats in the race. Paul Hometick did that with the Hulu. Oh, they're talking about the Bussel. Bill Wingrup says maybe misinformation tactics.
Yeah, well, of course. And I don't think so, though, because as I say, we're very careful to double and triple check our sources. And I so far, we have maybe gotten the shade of gray wrong once or twice.
Mhm.
And but in this whole episode of now almost 350 shows, we haven't so far made a real boner, a real, huge.
Gordon Smith says the weight distribution rules on their own are remarkably complex, and I'm sure that's true.
That is true. Somebody is getting fired. Yeah, we'll see. I hope there are 4 boats. Yep, you read that one, Julia. Maybe, yeah. Italians B2 is al dente. Wet Hog. See, it's nice to have him here because he's so damn clever. He makes funny comments. It just, Yarvahe, let them stay ashore trying to con the others. Yeah, well, ETNZ, I guess he's talking about. Did you cover the new footage of Amex with Ineos? I jumped in late. Mark, I because of this move to YouTube, I didn't go back and dig up all the stuff from Justin Mitchell and also from ANZ Travel that is there. And this was the one that had all 3 boats in it, and we'll talk some more about it. But what I am hearing, by the way, Ben, to my eye, what the videos I have seen, it'd be interesting to see what you think. They look like they're going through the water, and it looks like their maneuvers are good. Likewise with New York, with American Magic. One hears, however, Ben's boat is slow. One hears that through the water straight line. Remember, the teams are out there with, I don't know what the instrumentation rules are, but it's not that hard to figure out the relative speeds of the boats. One hears Ineos Team UK's boat is maybe so far, remember, there's a long workup period here, so I don't want to get too carried away, is a bit slow relative to New York.
Yeah. Doug Zilla says Luna Rossa has sailed only 3 days since their original launch compared with Magic's 12.
Good point, Stingray. And Stingray, who also watches very carefully the Sailing Anarchy AC forum, which a lot, and Wet Hog and others of you have been in there, and have been, some of you, denizens of that forum since the 2000s. But the problem with that forum, unlike our group, and I thank everybody whose comments today are once again, pristine, right? I don't see any madness here at all. Thank you all for sticking by our rules of no. And those of you watching in replay, remember, please, no personal attacks, no name calling, no coarse language, because that's why we have such a great group of, a lot of people still on here, been on here the whole show.
Yep.
But yeah, Luna Rossa has not sailed many days. They do have, whether it's a structural problem or this measure, I know they have this measurement problem. We shall soon see. Dogzilla Monster. So Stingray saying ETNZ will launch a month after the challenges, but their schedule is about a month later too. Well, we'll see. Clark Chapin, I'm sure that LRPP's storyline is, quote, "This is no time to panic. There will be plenty of time to panic later."
Yeah.
Wet Hog saying, imagine that the boat that looks like it has a lead ballast keel slapped on the bottom is slow. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We really don't know, do we, Julia?
Nope, not yet.
And nor does probably anybody else who, and if they do know, they're not talking. And if they're talking, they don't know. Right?
That's very probable.
Stephen Suchia at American Magic, they took the measurement rule very seriously. Robin Lesh, MIT graduate, was assigned to oversee the measurement component of the AC 75 rule. Yeah, well, any team of the 13 that I've been involved with, you always, that was part of my job when I was the rules advisor. You worked with the technical rules person, and even if you weren't necessarily a technical rules person, but they'd throw questions at you and you'd bounce them back and forth, and it's a full-time effort. And that's why it's part of the challenge. It's, again, we say it's not the team with the most money. It's not the team. It's the team that's the smartest that wins the America's Cup. And that's our AC 36 Cup. Whoops, I went too fast. Let's switch back. AC 36 Cup date.
Yes.
Okay, let's wrap up show number 347. With a new segment I recorded with Stephen Suchia yesterday. Well, here, you have a look at it and see what you think. Okay, and what is a new segment for TFE Live? Maybe we call this Tom's Tech Talk, but I'm very pleased to have Stephen Suchia standing by in Cincinnati, as they say there in Southern Ohio, Cincinnati. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Tom.
Nice to have you back on the show, and not for talking about the America's Cup Hall of Fame, of which you chair the selection committee, or about New York Yacht Club, or about the America's Cup, or whatever else we've had you talk. History of the America's Cup, you and Hamish Ross, among others, esteemed historians of the Cup. We're going to talk about tech today because you have a new device which you've gone out to buy in this age of Zoom videos and live streaming and so on. Tell us about your new device.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for recommending it in the first place. It's called Loom Cube. And it's a portable device that's perfect for Zoom and other video conferencing. So as you can see, I'm underexposed because the background is bright. But when I turn on the Loom Cube, which is off to my right, well, now watch this.
Wow.
Voila. Significant.
Fantastic. And that is just like on their commercial. And we're doing a commercial for Zoom, Loom, L-U-M-E Cube, but there are other similars. And a lot of people, it comes with a device you can just literally stick it onto your laptop, back of your laptop screen, right?
Correct. It comes with a suction cup that you can mount the Loom Cube, which I'm going to show you in a moment, to the back of your laptop or monitor. Or you could do what I'm doing right now, which is using a light stand that you can also buy as well. But here's the Loom Cube.
That's a diffuser on it?
And it's a diffuser on it. And one of the good things about this tool is that you can change the color temperature to match your surroundings.
Okay, tell us about color temperature and blue and orange,
so
blue and yellow.
Like your typical household light bulb is an incandescent light, which is a very warm orangish color, and that doesn't match sunlight, which is very clear and white light, right? So when you have two different types of light sources coming together, you get this really ugly looking mixed mesh of orangish hues and white hues, and then your skin color can turn like bright red or some weird orange look. So if you have something that you can control the color temperature, you can make your skin tones and your overall lighting around you look good.
And there's technical ways of doing that, but you simply with a light, and we've got here in the studio, Julie is not here when we're recording this on Thursday, but that light has the same thing. It has actually two. You can turn on the white or you can turn on the more yellowish, orangish.
Right.
And I can do that a bit with the cameras here. If you look at my camera, and I'll adjust the values here on my camera real time, and you watch me go to yellowish, the whole shot goes to yellow. Or if I go to a colder temperature, you can see me, and I start to look like the white Northern European that I am. And of course, you're Asian, so you look pretty good. Let me go back, fix my. You look a lot better, generally speaking, than we Guaylo, we white, especially without much of a tan. And of course, I haven't shaved in a couple of days. But that lighting is amazing. Even I'm impressed. And that costs how much, Stephen?
Yeah, the Loom Cube itself, it's about $70. I got it at a slight discount directly from the Loom Cube company, and then I bought the light stand, which came for it. That was about $30. So it's $100 total, roughly.
And it's battery operated, or can you plug it into the wall, or both?
Yeah, there's an internal battery that you can then, to recharge, you just plug it into, your laptop or into the wall. It's like a USB port.
Can you grab it and hold it away from you so we can see the whole thing, or should I can put the picture on that you sent me too?
Yeah, I can here. One of the best things I can do is let me just turn off the light so it'd be easier, ironically, to see it.
Astonishingly, what an improvement that is.
So
show us the whole light stand. It's got a gimbal head on it, so you can unscrew the screw, and the thing will gimbal around and angle it and so on.
Right.
So it's not even plugged in. It's the battery. Have you run it? You've only had it for 3 days, right? How long does it run on a charge?
It depends on how strong
Show
the light.
show us the foot too of you before you set it down and turn it on. Show us the foot of your tripod. How tall is the tripod? Is it a meter or a little less?
No, it's about maybe a foot tall, but it's adjustable. So the feet is adjustable, and it also has that wonderful, as you said, has a ball head, so you can angle the loom cube in various directions.
Yep.
Like this.
And what color temperature do you have it on now for you? I mean, you're Asian, so you have a little bit darker skin than I do this time of year, at least.
Yeah, right now I actually have it at 4,000 K.
Yeah, Kelvin.
But if you look at the back, see here, this is pretty good too. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, see, it looks it's good. So you can see the temperature. You can see it's got a battery indicator.
Right.
Cool.
And
temperature of the light.
Correct.
And of course, when we say temperature, we're talking about the light itself, not how hot the device is, because the device is LED. It runs quite cool. I mean, it runs perfectly cool.
It does.
Touch, right?
Yeah, I used it last night for an hour and a half. And when I went to turn off the loom cube, it was just cool to the touch. So,
and as we were saying when we were setting this up, we just did this at the spur of the moment, so forgive me again. I've done the interview today earlier with. We got a great announcement tomorrow about a new round the world ocean. Okay, you get the idea. I appreciate Stephen coming on. I'll let this run, but this is really just by way of a. All of you are doing presumably so many Zoom talks. You're coming on here. Let's turn that down some more. Stephen had done that Zoom with the America's Cup Hall of Fame. Those of you who watch it, I see Stingray made a comment about it. And, I mean, you see what the difference is between now he's lit. And as one of you said, too, Gordon Smith mentioned that it even took away his the glare in his glasses from the other thing. It lights his face up through his glasses, cuts some of that if you get it off at about a 45-degree angle. And, we have studio lighting in here. We talked about this, but this is really, I don't want to belabor the point, but for just even a desk lamp, as something as silly as, I don't know if you can see this desk lamp I've got over here. If you just get that off at a 45-degree angle and get it on your face, it makes a world of difference for all these kinds of Zoom calls and so on and so forth. So I appreciate Steve coming on. You can see again how good, a little bit of work. Get your head up. And again, we tell you, get your head up just below the top of the frame. We work on, Julia's slumped down just a bit.
I know I have.
We all do. And
I
can tip her. Now turn it back on. Hammer down a bit. But don't have yourself down on the bottom of the frame. You want your eyes 2/3 of the way up. You want your head just below the top, what the TV guys call a bust shot. Get your face lit. And Steve now is going to. You heard how bad the audio, relatively bad it was with KP, and we spent some time trying to improve it, and then we actually did improve it. But get yourself a mic. I'm going to give Steve some ideas, and I'll put it on the website. But geez, folks, try to improve your AV for doing in this. And this is not going away. We're going to be doing a lot of this, right, Julia?
Yep.
Okay, so thanks to Stephen Suchia for coming on. It was terrific having him on. Look at how well lit, how good that shot is.
It is good.
And he's got some light behind him, which pops his head off the back wall with a backlight, and the whole thing works pretty darn well. Okay, Stephen, thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah. Dogzilla said, a huge public thank you and appreciation to Steve for an absolutely wonderful Zoom meeting this past Sunday. It was brilliant.
Indeed. And that Zoom meeting must have been America's Cup Hall of Fame related. What was it?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Steve Suchia should rate a Bravo Zulu for this. Yeah, and again, that Loom Cube, which is what a lot of the streamers use. We got studio lighting in here, as you know. We got 3-point lighting, a light over Julia's head and light behind me, and you don't need that. But also notice that Loom Cube, I remember him saying, that Loom Cube also has a diffuser on it, and that's why we have this big bloody diffuser up here on top of this. That's an LED inside that diffuser. The diffuser is huge, and it's like you see these big soft boxes that photographers use for taking portraits. Gordon Smith, butt shot. Are you Sure, the audio is working. Bust shot, Gordon. Now, who was it that said Ehman should put a tie on? Well, I rushed off and grabbed a tie. Thank you, Bill Wingrove. Because, Tom put on a tie. It's the first time I've ever worn a tie, I think, on the show.
I noticed instantly.
And did you see Capey? I mean, I only shave on show days. I shave on Tuesdays and Fridays, and since we didn't have a show on Tuesday, I didn't shave on Tuesday. Clark, 3:46 was the Sunday show. 3:47 was supposed to be Tuesday, so today is 3:47. So I didn't shave, and you know what I look like after 4 or 5 days.
Yes, awful.
Pretty awful. But, Julia.
Oh, now I lost it. Will a replay of the ACHOF induction be released?
Yes, I've asked them about that, and I'm told that they will. And whether it's going to be, give them $5 so you can watch it, or whether they're going to make it free to air down the road. Billy Lynn and Stephen are working on that, and I'm sure they'll make it available. It was a nice ceremony. It was an hour-long ceremony. Gary Jobson hosted it. Wasn't perfect technically, and again, it was the lighting. These simple things of lighting, and get yourself a microphone that plugs into your computer. We'll do something about audio next time, because audio, as you all know on here, people will listen. We'll watch this show if the video's crappy, within reason. But if the audio's lousy, everybody, we learned that in the first handful of shows. Everybody learns that, and that's why they call it audio visual. Julia, anything else? Sounds much better. Thanks, Steve. Good show. Of course, Gordon, and there's Steve didn't buy a drink, did he? At dinner at 6. The Zoom meeting was a virtual tour. Oh, the virtual tour of 44th Street and Cup Talk with Stingray. Okay. Got one on order, 3 to 4 days delivery. Okay, James. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. Amazon makes one their own. Amazon's own brand. That's quite a bit less expensive. IMHO audio was fine today. Thanks, Clark Chavin. Thanks again for suggesting the Loom Cube video conference light. Indeed, a game changer. It's a huge.
Clark says Steve looks much better than his photo on the wall of my local post office.
Okay. Our final segment. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes in. Our Whiskey Tango Foxtrot segment. It's a combination of Fozzie photos and videos and 2020 stuff. Did you see any of you see this thing? I'm not going to talk more about it today, but this was the finals between Ian Williams and Taylor Canfield, and you wondered why Ian Williams got penalized. I guess he won the race, and then they took 3/4 of a point away. Is that what happened? So he only got 1/4 of a point for that one race. I can't remember now, but this is a past Commodore's boat, and they were circling it. And that was also the media boat. So I think Tucker Thompson's up there, and whoever the lady who was with him the lady was doing a terrific job. I think she was local, maybe not. But this was not pretty, obviously. That was during the Bermuda Gold Cup in Bermuda, last week. Another one from our El Arroyo restaurant in, I guess, Austin, Texas. Sounds like thunder, but with the way 2020 is going, it could be Godzilla. I thought Stingray would like that. Hoggy will like that too. Wet Hog will like that. Now, tell me, this shot one of you sent me, and this has got to be photoshopped, right? This can't be that these people are on this whale watching boat, and the whale, what's the proper term? Sounds?
Yeah. Oh, it could. That happens in the Bay.
Does it?
Yeah.
You think that's a real picture?
Well, I don't know that it is necessarily, but it could happen because I've seen them come up for looks.
Okay. Well, it's a hilarious picture regardless. This is dedicated to our Brits, our friends who are back in lockdown, Emmett, McIrvin, and the rest of you. Pindar, what new skills did you acquire during self-quarantine? Only a tea drinker not only, but tea drinkers especially will appreciate this. Did you see this, Julia?
Yes.
Did you send this to me?
No. That's awful.
It's not. It's funny. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I like to have a cup of tea. I'll have one after the show. I like to have a coffee in the morning and a tea in the afternoon. Now, this for you coffee drinkers. And I can't remember. One of you in Europe sent this to me. Avoid pouring on crotch area. Okay, that's in English, obviously. Julie, you read French better than I. What's that say?
Ne puis pas dans l'area de ooh la la.
Ooh la la. The crotch is the ooh la, it's the ooh la la. Now the German, which I can nine droppen Sie Haut Kaffee und Sie Knackers. I can't remember who sent that to us, but I thought that was
awful.
Oh, come on. Come on. Thank you to George Manello Dupuis, who sent this to us. I wish that was the start this year of the Rolex Middle Sea race there on the Battery in Valletta in Malta. And I wish we had an audio recording of that. We'd put that right in at the top of the show, where we now have that quite a good video from the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron of their, I guess, the opening of their 75th season.
Yeah.
We keep using that. Nice picture. Likewise, this is a great picture. This from Blake Middleton. He says he's honored, he's privileged, he's blessed to be able to share these years up at Wayzata Yacht Club in Minnesota. It's now snowing up there. It's become winter. In fact, it's becoming wintry here, Julia. But what a beautiful sunset photo from Blake Middleton. I thought a nice way to wrap up our 2020 segment with some good news, notwithstanding all the garbage that's going on with the election here in this country.
There's some explanation about the boat collision.
Okay, who's saying what?
John Emmett says they stopped the race due to damage, and then he won the restarted race. The media boat was drifting, and then they were trying to get Tucker overboard.
Well, that's a joke.
They nose plant in the water. Yeah. Yes, Tucker and the lady were on the boat. Canfield was literally hooked into Williams' stern, driving him into the boat.
Okay, well, I don't know about what is this comment, Julie, about if anyone can talk Steve into the tour of the grill room or the model room. I don't know what it was. Gordon, we had a virtual lunch in the grill room. Stephen Suchia. Stephen, what was that all about? Can you put the link to that? Is it public or is it private? Stephen's an esteemed member by now of New York Yacht Club, so maybe that's not available publicly.
Well, that's what they were doing with he and Stingray, and Stephen did a tour.
So Stephen gave. Oh, I know. So Stephen was in Cincinnati and giving a tour for Stingray via Zoom or something of the using photos, or I guess is how that worked. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. They were trying to get rid of Tucker overboard. Jody Shields is saying nose plant. Yes, Tucker and the lady were on the boat. Canfield was literally hooked into Williams' stern, driving him in. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can go back to that image. Let's go back to that image here. Before the Knackers. I like the Knackers there. There's the image. So I see. So Tucker or Taylor Canfield, you can see plainly on his mainsail.
Yeah.
He's on starboard tack. His bow is going into the port tack stern, the port side of Ian Williams. So he's pushing Ian Williams' stern down, pushing his bow up, and the bow goes into the media boat, crashes into it. So what was the penalty? Well, how was that sorted out?
They restarted.
Okay. Emmett is saying, out of interest, I use a Releno, R-A-L-E-N-O, LED video light. Okay, send us the link. 50 pounds, he says. Panel light with LCD display. Clark, I'll have words with the postmaster. Look at the footage. TC was right, and it was a mistake on Ian. Well, I'm not going to argue the case. I wasn't there, but there was some kind of a penalty assessed, and we know that Taylor Canfield went on to win last week. And in what? It was 3 to 0.75, wasn't it? I can't remember the final score. It was first to win 3. That much.
Emmett says Ian Williams lost 0.75 points
of a point. So it was, he must have won the race, and then they deducted 3/4 of a point. That's how he ended up with that 1/4 of a point or something. I can't remember. That's cool. Cool collision. Julie, anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, just be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
2020, what more could happen? But at least people are sailing. John Ehman, I know you and your sailing. What's the name of the term of art. He's doing several shows and trying to keep sailing going. And there was an interesting post that he made on Facebook this morning about what they're trying to do. You can go sailing, but you can't go sailing out of your club, but you can go sailing out of the public beach next to the club. You can have your coach, but otherwise you really can only go with one other person that's got to be in your family or your bubble. I mean, it's going to lock down again, apparently here in the U.S. to some degree, because we're spiking daily as well. So we hope you all stay safe. We hope you can go sailing wherever you are in the world. And we appreciate your coming on for 347. Julia, your witness.
Yes, like, share, and subscribe, and ding the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell, ding the bell. And also, if you're leave comments in watching this on replay, they are welcome as well. And if you're so inclined, please do join us over on Patreon. Become a patron, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, and give us $1 or 10 or more per month. We appreciate the support. This is viewer-supported media, now on YouTube. And on Tuesday, I hope you'll be able to watch us on sailingillustrated.com. I'm going to get the website fired back up and up to speed. It's just been too hectic to try to do 2 shows a week on the Facebook and so on. And unless there's any final comments, okay, dinghies found their boat list, and we are now hunting for sale. Yeah, I saw that post, James Bland. Thank you for that. Can't like anymore. 850, I don't know, TB, terabytes. What does that mean? Great show. Thanks. You never know, having to switch to YouTube may be a blessing in disguise. Well, it might be, Julia.
It might be.
And we'll keep working on this. And in the meantime, we hope you have a great weekend and that you stay safe. Share it with the ones you love. And until next Tuesday, stay safe and go sailing. Ciao. Bye. And I would just say here is this is a video, so I can't change it very easily. And on this last slide of the video, where it says, well, I guess it doesn't. I thought it said YouTube on here. It doesn't. Sailing Illustrated. I'm sorry, I thought it said Facebook, not YouTube. But we're on YouTube now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Ciao. Bye.